Sorry, do you get team sheets for every level of your game, all the way down to the lowest grassroots?
Absolutely, definitely, yeah. And all players have a player pass, otherwise they can't.
ID card?
Yeah, they have to. No ID, no play.
Hi guys, I know we're going to have our special guest. Those who aren't watching, there's going to be people that are listening to this through the audio, like our SELK boys on the interweb. But you won't be able to see. But we got a guest tonight, which is a real good friend of ours called Jorg Oppers, who's from Holland, referee over in Holland. Personally, I've known him for 20 years, and we met in the USA Cup. And we're still friends to this day, really close friends. And I know Anthony met him a few years, was 15 years ago, Anthony?
Yeah, but around 2005, 2006, I think.
So we got a guest tonight from Holland. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself for the boys?
Yeah, no problem. My name is Jorg Oppers from Holland. I've been a referee since 1995. Started with youth teams, then made my way into the adults, and did that for good 20 years. Then I became club referee, is what we call it here in Holland, and became chairman of our local football club. Before started to pick up football, refereeing again for the Dutch FA, and also organizer of the Easter Open tournament in Holland that two of you have been to. And the latest tournament I've been to is with Martin through Leisure Leagues in Soccer. It was in Crete, where I did the mini football tournament, the World Cup, which was great.
Well, we call it soccer. We don't call it mini football now, as we say.
Soccer, yeah.
Soccer with an A.
But one of the things I think would be interesting to talk about tonight with you, is that we always like to self-reflect as referees and look back on things we've done either in a game or on and off the field of play. And Anthony and Nathan and I have been discussing a little bit. My wife was listening to it. She said, "Oh, you and Anthony don't have to swear." And I said, well, sometimes it just comes out. I like to treat it like I'm going to see me nan, and I try not to swear. But when we're refereeing, we have the same mindset. But on this podcast, we framed it like having a pint with the boys afterwards. So so from my point of view, it does come out, but it's not intentional. But it was interesting. I reflect on things, and before we go into you, I just wanted to ask the other boys if there's anything. Now this is developing into quite a popular platform. If you think we could be self-reflect on some of the things you've discussed in the last few episodes.
Yeah, definitely, Martin. I think I have. I think I've thought a lot about the way that I go about trying to sort of make the point that I make. And I think sometimes, I think particularly in the first episode, I think I maybe used an example that I probably shouldn't have used as much of an example, and should be maybe thinking more about what the point is rather than the circumstances around the point and things like that. And I also think that, sometimes I don't agree. I think there's a period, isn't there? I think if you look at the second part of the second episode, I think I don't talk for 9.5 minutes. And I think that's because I didn't probably agree with what yourself and Ant were saying. But actually, really what I should have said was, I don't agree. And this is why I don't agree. And I think that it's about, I think on that particular occasion, we were talking about former FIFA referee and head of Pt.1, Keith Hackett. And whilst I don't agree with a lot of, personally, don't agree with a lot of what gets said about referees generally, I think that everybody who's involved in refereeing is entitled to have an opinion, yourselves included. And I just think that, personally, I didn't agree with maybe some of the things what you were saying about what had been said at that time. But I know that obviously everybody, as I say, is entitled to an opinion, because football is that, it's a game of opinions. And as referees and refereeing decisions, create contention. I think we're all entitled to different opinions.
Yeah, I get that, mate. And to be honest, when I was talking, particularly that one about Mr. Hackett in his course, I could see on the screen that you were just sitting there drinking and not saying anything. And I did wonder, I wonder if he's, agreeing with us. And I know you're such a good lad, and we said right at the beginning, didn't we, that, some of the issues we want to discuss and we want to talk about, you will address it, like with a feather, and me and Anthony probably throw hand grenades in there, and that's how we deal with it. So I think that's what's important about you. You've always been so professional during this, and you haven't joined in and, that sort of side, which is great, which brings another dimension to it. So I think you're right. And when you talk about the incident that you did, going back to the first one about, your opinion you had on a particular referee, I get what you mean there. But sometimes when you're speaking in these scenarios, when they're raw and we can't edit them, sometimes it comes out, and it might come across the wrong way. But me not seeing you well enough that there's not a bad bone in your body. You're very professional. So I think it's great that you flashed that up, mate. So fair play.
Yeah, I was just thinking that, I could be misconstrued, and I just didn't want to be misconstrued. That was the only thing I wanted to totally come across in exactly the ways that yourself and Ant obviously know that it was said, which is just as obviously one of those things that it's an example of a situation, rather than me saying I've got an axe to grind, which I certainly didn't and certainly don't.
Yeah, it's important, I think, as well, to kind of remind our audience that we are separate people. Just because we're talking on the same platform, it doesn't mean that we all share the same viewpoints necessarily. And that, so far, is what has made it, I think, a really good interaction between the three of us, is that whilst we will have these discussions, we won't agree with them. And if people see the three of us and say, well, one person's saying it, so they all must think it, that's of course that's not true. But just on the language point, I mean, my day job, to call it a day job, is I'm a manager in a comedy club, and the language there is coarse. The jokes are crude, and I fit in perfectly. That persona is not the persona I take onto the pitch when I referee, but it is the persona that comes out in the bar afterwards and in this chat as well. And some people will be like, ooh, referees shouldn't really be saying, to go back onto something that I've said, when Mike Dean had his lockdown beard, and I was like, fuck yeah, Mike Dean. I'd say fuck yeah, Mike Dean to anyone. But I wouldn't go on the field of play and say to a player, the fuck's that on your face? Yeah. What have you not had a shave while you've been locked down? Get the fuck out of here. But away from it, I'm casual as you like. But that's not my persona on the field of play. So for people to judge us as referees from this, yeah, you can judge us based on what we say and how we interact with each other. But that is specifically on this vlog. And it shouldn't be a reflection of who we are outside of it, to the extent where people want to make judgments about who we are as people. So yeah, listen, I'd just say, if at any point there's a disagreement on here, it's always going to be a friendly disagreement. We're not going to be at each other's throats. We're not going to be I was going to say we're not going to call each other knobheads, but I know. I know. I brought up that coloured whistle thing in the last episode, and I pretty much. But listen, like you've said, Martin, this is a casual chat between referees, and now we're bringing on guests, and that's the tone. That's the tone of the vlog, and I think it works. This is why we're in. By the time this is released, this episode will be the 7th. So it's gone out in 2 episodes of 3 parts each. So this will be the 7th 30-minute segment. At this point, it's had in excess of 5,000-6,000 views. It's about 1,200 to 1,400 views per episode we put out. So per part we put out. So by the time the footage of this one goes out, it'll have been seen over 10,000 times. Which we've got to kind of acknowledge that this is going out to a wider audience than probably we first anticipated. Yeah. So it will be good to kind of balance ourselves, but also don't completely filter it as well. It's got to be it's got to be a little bit raw, but it can't be like completely unfiltered.
I know, and I think it's fair to state that Nathan can be a bit like, when we have say, Dan Walker on the BBC Breakfast and let's go to Liverpool. And I go, I've been out today with a load of knobheads. And then you can go, oh, listen, I want to apologise to my viewers.
Sorry about the language.
Some of the language that he had to use during that last episode. So we're all right with that. So I'm glad we wanted to reflect on that. But that leads lovely into I guess, yeah, is because Nate said something in an earlier conversation about when you, like, I can't speak Dutch, can I? You know, how long have I known you? 20 years. But I can pick up on, when Jorg has a conversation, I can sort of work out what you're talking about. And I've caught him out a couple of times. And I've done things what he was talking about. Now, but Nate said, one of the first things that people ask when you meet someone from a different country is, what are the swear words in German? Or what are the swear words in Dutch? And I think we didn't have that conversation because you could speak English already, couldn't you, mate?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what's your take on, like, we've said about in the past about different opinions on different referees from different countries. Now we just had a discussion that, you know, we got to be a little bit mindful that it isn't the best professional thing to do, swearing, but it does come out natural. And, you know, we do frame this about having a pint in a bar. But, like, I remember a while back, I was coming home from the game and we were talking on the phone, and we just talked about you'd seen something here on our Facebook page about not being a robot. And I think it's something to do with lifting a shirt up. And I might have even went back to that. Was it Damari Gray at Leicester when Lee Probert had the
Lee, wasn't it? Yeah.
And I think everyone knew that Lee's hands was tied over here. And even we did a blog on it. You know, Piers bloody Morgan went mad, and everyone else was giving Lee sticks, saying, "Oh, you don't be like a robot." Yeah. You could see there was a photograph that was in one of the papers of Lee's face when he did it, and Lee Probert's face was like, "Oh, bloody hell, I'm going to have to do him." And then we got talking to Jorg, and your opinion on it was, "Come on, where's your emotion?" Wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And
expand on that a bit more.
But that's me talking on lower level, so it's easier.
Yeah.
I know he's in the top, so left with little choice to follow the rules. On the other hand, we had a referee here who didn't book a player after the Brazilian team crashed down. I don't remember the name of the team. And he lifted his shirt as well and said it was for this team. He didn't book him. And that referee got praised all over the next day in the newspapers and live critics and everything. And yes, he got told off, but a week after, he was still doing major games in Holland, so they never suspended him or whatever. So I say I would rather be told off by the FA and praised by the old nation for being human rather than follow the rules as a sheriff, as I always say.
Yeah, it was a plane crash, wasn't it?
Yeah, plane crash, yeah.
When we put this out, we put a visual up of the badge. I think it began with C.
Chapecoense.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
It's like an encyclopedia, Nathan.
Yes, he's incredible, and he is absolutely incredible. So, yeah, them. And I remember we even moved our Ref Sport logo. We took the ball out of it and put their crest inside it. And that went down really well just to show a level of support. It was the whole team that a lot of the team got wiped out and died. It was a real sad situation. So what happened then after that year? Did he, you know, so the fans and the press were behind him, but the FA technically wins. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and they came out in a couple of days after saying that he should have booked the player and they weren't happy with the decision, but understood it. And I think that's the whole point. As a referee, we don't have the best image for the normal supporters. We think we don't have anything to say at home. That's why we became a referee. We can't play football. We don't understand football, so on and so on. And if you book a player like that, everyone will jump on you and say, "Oh, so you got the feeling, typical referee, this and that." Whereas when he didn't book him, he gave more credibility to the whole refereeing world, in my view. So I was happy he didn't do it, and brave man for not doing it. And still in there, still in our Premier League, the Dutch Premier League.
That's Premier League, because I know with Lee, because we know Lee, And we knew he was gutted, we'd have to do it. And that brought on another conversation on our Facebook page when we talked about being human, like you said. And I think, and we were saying about our referees on the Premier League, there's referees who are FIFA, the referees who were FIFA are now not FIFA anymore, and we got referees on there who were never going to ever get FIFA because of age or whatever. And there is a distinct difference of how they referee, isn't it? And Mike Dean was never the Mike Dean he is now when he was on FIFA, was he?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is something we've alluded to before, but not really discussed in depth. Is Mike Dean became Robo Dean when he was on the FIFA list. But as soon as he come off, I mean, even as he was building up to FIFA, you saw his personality on the pitch. Then he seemed to get his FIFA badge, and they said, "Nah, Mike, just stop all that. Just go out there, call a game, leave your personality on the shelf." And then he's back off the FIFA list now, and he is his personality. He's probably the most liked referee in English football. Even historically, he's probably the most popular in terms of such a likable personality. I mean, look at him when he's supporting Tranmere Rovers and he's on the stands with all the fans. He's as passionate about football, and it's humanizing referees. We are normal human beings with families, with friends, with interests and all that sort of stuff outside of football. But it seems like there is a perception from fellow referees and from people outside of the game that when you are a referee, you have to act and behave in a certain way. And that certain way is unfortunately really, really robotic and not with a lot of personality. So the more you kind of feed into that stereotype, the more normalized having a not human robotic referee seems to be.
I agree. And before we go on to Nathan about the mindset of that, I just looked at my phone. Here we are. It's 31 minutes past 8 on Wednesday. Mike Dean is trending on Twitter as we speak. So he's refereeing the Bournemouth. He's refereeing Bournemouth. Now, apparently, live breaking news. This is breaking news. There was never a penalty or something. Mike Dean has given this penalty to Burnley. Every Norwich fan knows exactly what my thought process is. It was not a penalty. So here we are going on about the mindset of it. And here we are praising Mike Dean. And we all love him. We all think it is. But again, fans are so fickle. It's just an accident, a banana skin around the corner, isn't he? So how do you frame all that in a mindset, Nathan?
Well, obviously, Martin, you've been there yourself, and I think we all have as referees. You can come off the game and you can feel sky high, unbelievable. But, there's always something that can happen in a game where, I talked about one of my games where I became blocked in a situation. Then when I was unblocked, there was a serious violent incident within a game. And I talked about that, I think, in the last episode. And I think that it's not... I think that the crucial side of it is to not take it personally, because I think that, you can work as hard as you want on your positioning and everything. You could be the world's number one referee. You could be. I think it was Nestor Pitana, wasn't it, at the last World Cup? He did the final, so he could claim he was the number one referee at that point in time. And even he could be in a position where he was unfortunately blocked. He couldn't get out any angle. There was no angle accessible to him. And then when he becomes unblocked, there's a really big incident. And I think that's how you need to frame it when you reflect. Obviously, one of the big things I've heard from there's a referee who's currently on the Championship actually told me one of the first places where you reflect on a game is actually when you're in the car on the way home. And I know that probably you've had that, Martin, probably when you travel with referees, you'll understand that feeling for them and even for yourself, being on the Football League and being in even Premier League and things like that. It's one of these things that can happen where, you prepare yourself. But when you're in that mode of reflection, sometimes it's about saying, right, I did everything I could. And obviously now you've got videotapes and all sorts where you can look back a lot more in detail than I would that you and everything, so get that. But I think that sometimes you need to just sit down and just look at the footage and go, there's nothing more I could have done there. I've positioned myself as best as possible. There was just too many people there to see that particular incident or whatever it might have been. And I think that's something you need to be aware of, is you're a human being. You know, when we talk about robotics and we talk about the behaviours around that, let's also accept the fact that we're human beings who can only be in one place at any one time.
Yeah, well, and one of the things that when we got spoken to Jorg is that he's always said the way he was so stiff. Like, he used to comment on us, you know, when we went to the first year, we went to the Holland Easter Open, we were like, you know, we all had buzzer flags, we all like warms up, we all had the same polos on, we were all professional and stood there and really give it our best on every single game. And Jorg would say, don't relax, why are you so stiff? Because we were conditioned that when we flagged, you know, our legs were together, our arm was at our side and our other arm was indicating, and he used to laugh at us. And then he said about, you know, when he comes over to England and I take him to games with me, I've got to wear a shirt and tie. Why have I got to wear a shirt and tie? And they just don't do that in Holland, do they?
No.
So
I think it's far more relaxed here, more laid back. If I would go to one of my games, and I've been to my top season, it was the 6th year in Holland, if I would have shown up there in a costume, you know, fully costume,
shirt and tie,
they would laugh at me. It's very uncommon.
And also, I remember us having a conversation, and you two here, Nathan, Anthony might be surprised at this, but you don't get neutral lineups.
No.
Sorry, assistant referees, for those who want us to be, you know, correct. To a very high level, do you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the top amateur leagues, that's the first time you get neutral officials on the sides, and all below you're on your own with two club lineups. But I have to say, to be fair to them, the club linos, they are very experienced, very good. But, you know, in the back of their head, they know they are part of the team, so they will pick their points during the season. But they are okay to work with. They know what they have to do, and of course, sometimes you get the strange liner who will not cooperate and doesn't want to cooperate. But overall, it's not bad. But I envy you guys when you are out there with a team of officials, because that's something we definitely don't have now.
So what level, if you did the currency exchange in football, what level over here, like say Conference National over your area, that level, would they have neutral lineups?
Yes.
And then, so below that would be like Southern League over here, you wouldn't have neutral lineups?
One league below, yes. But from there, no.
Wow. That's completely different to over here, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's one of the most discussion during the games where we are as a referee are offsides, because right at the first offside or the second, mostly the second or third, the captain of the other teams will come up to you and say, "Yo, ref, you want to check that lino because that's the third time he's raised his flag." And most of the time, it's the last defender who can't even see if he's offside or not. But they will always say, and the crowd as well, "Oh, check the lino, check the lino, check the lino." And most troubles in Dutch games are after a goal is scored, because either the lino is flagged, and you have to decide as a referee, am I going to follow his advice or not? And whatever you choose, whichever decision you choose, you'll be getting dissent from either one of the teams who aren't happy with the decision you take. So that is a very big thing in Dutch refereeing. I think it's one of the main parts that you have to address in Dutch football.
What else is there? Because you talk about, I say British referees, because I've refereed in Wales and I've done a couple of games up in Scotland as well, and there seems to be a British style of doing things that is kind of robotic. It was very regimented, very rigid, feet together, a flag out, parallel 90 degrees and all this. What's it like in Holland for that sort of stuff? Is it?
It's funny that you say that because, well, obviously I've spoken to Martin before this, and I've made a list about things that are different from here to you. And for instance, booking style, that's one of them. When I went to the USA Cup, as Martin said, I saw Roger Vaughan booking a player, which took about 10 minutes. I said, did you take his bounty details and address? Or I didn't know what was going on. In Holland, it's very simple. When you give a yellow card, you flash the thing, and if players want to get on with it. That also goes with red cards. I've seen incidents, I've sent Martin videos of it. Incidents where there's a very, very late challenge, which you immediately know right there it's a red card, and what the referee does is runs up there, starts blowing his whistle, don't know why, blowing his whistle 40 times, and then everyone jumps in, there's loads of fights, and then you end up with 3 or 4 players sent up. Whereas, I think if you pull out the red card straight away, everyone will see, oh, the referee's seen it, and then the captain will usually say, oh, he's back on, he's off. So I think you can prevent incidents from a quick yellow or a quick red.
Yeah, escalating. But Nathan, we would get opinions of assessors that might say, don't do that. Over here, they'll call that a flash card. A flash card, maybe we'll do some graphics called flash card. But we do get that it's not the advised way to do things.
I certainly think that what, with my experience being observant things like that actually what you tend to find, which I think is good, and I would, if the boot was on the other foot and I was not observing a referee, I think being open-minded towards the whole thing, I think you've got to understand that whatever it is, history, whatever it might be, it's enshrined in our culture to do this whole technique of, taking the name and this and that and the other. But I think that there are a lot of, we call them umpires, I don't know why we call them umpires, observers, who are actually open-minded to a flash, and then they're open-minded to the whole idea of, well, that's actually helped the referee maintain a higher level of match control, which of course, as we know, is something that is pivotal to the observation system, really. Is your level of match control. It dictates the level of success that you have in terms of your observation. So I think that some observers will accept that as an opportunity to maintain match control. But again, it very much in the same way as all 4 of us would referee a game in a different way. An observer is going to observe a game in a different way. And I think that that's something that we have to accept, is sometimes, even in the situation that Jorg's just described there, I think even there, so sometimes they'd rather get the technique right than have that. But it means, unfortunately, that you're then sacrificing at times, unfortunately, the match control level.
No, I agree. And also, we, in the assessments, we always say in our coaching, get the MAD right. And the reason we get the MAD right is because the top 3 big hitters in the assessment scheme is match control, application of law, and decision making, MAD. Now, if you get pulled up on your cautioning technique or your sending off technique, that goes in application of law. That goes in application of law. It's match control, application of law, decision making. So you're going to lose, even if you use 1 mark, that's a big hit. Yeah, I know there's 3 categories. Now, on the flashcards, it can de-escalate it quite quickly, like you said here. And I think taking your time can also have a detrimental effect on your match control, because if you do then get a red card out or a yellow card, it does look like you're being coerced, because you get some cute players who, come on, ref, and then you might have wanted to get a red out, but because they're in your ear and then you get a red out, that can look like it's coerced. So you get sort of caught between this. A flashcard will have its places where it de-escalates stuff, stops a mass confrontation, everything works. And then you can have the opposite side of it, where they say, "Oh, you should have took your time. Maybe you've seen it from a different angle." So it's definitely a double-edged sword. That
I think that as well, Martin. I think that what Jorg was talking about with the neutral assistants, I think that makes a big difference as well. Because when you are working with a senior assistant on Supply League or Contrib League here, you've then got that opportunity to say to that senior assistant, give me a full match record. So you know that if you need to do a flash or you need to do whatever you need to do, that there's somebody else there who's completing a full match record for you if you need to turn your attention away from sort of, in effect, detailed note-taking or whatever that might be. And you're covered. So I think that, there's a big difference, obviously, between when we work alone and when we work in teams. I think that when you work alone, the flash option is incredibly difficult, if not impossible, because if you flash the card and then you haven't got any details, you're then opening yourself up to getting false details. What's your name? Oh, well, my name's Mickey Mouse, was the example that was used when I remember when I took my training course. But the thing is, equally, as a referee and as we know, you've got the right to submit Mickey Mouse. If that's what they tell you, you've got a right to submit that, because if you can't obtain any other information and they've told you that the name is Mickey Mouse, well, you can submit that.
No,
over here, players are obliged to wear numbers on their back. So the only thing we have to write down, is the number and the reason of booking them, which in Holland are only 2 options. So that's very helpful. We don't have to track down time or anything. FA is not interested in that. They just want to know who's got booked. That's it, and no.
Do you get team sheets for every level of your game, all the way down to the lowest grassroots?
Absolutely, definitely, yeah. And all players have a player pass, otherwise they can't.
ID card?
Yeah, they have to. No ID, no play.
Do you check them before the game, Joe?
Yeah, we have to. Yeah, we have to check. We have to go into the locker rooms before the games, and then check the names, the rosters with the names, and then you say Martin Cassidy, and then I will stand up. You look at the face, and you say, okay, that's him. And so you check every player pass, so you know that everyone on the pitch is there with a pass and can play. But that's makes it more easier for us. So, as I'm saying, I'm not judging the way that you do things. I'm just saying that's the difference in how we do it. Also, I think it's also a thing where players' mentalities are different. In Holland, when I call a player over, they don't like that. They hate it when you call them over. They feel like little kids or dogs. Come here. They don't like that if you do that. So they like the flash card. They just look at you and think, oh, all right, I got booked. If I call them over and say, oh, listen, I'm going to book you for this and that, well, A, he's never going to agree. He's never going to say, oh, yeah, fair play, ref. I thought you were going to book me. No way. There's no way he's going to do that. So I'd rather not speak to him at all. So that's what I think is our way of doing it. For me, it's better. In the Dutch games, of course. And I'm not saying in England, where it might be different. And players are used to how you do this, or manage that.